Hey guys, welcome to Can You Handle the Truth segment. And we're so glad this is after the show after the show, in which we're calling it Can You Handle the Truth, because we're going to dive deeper with Dan. So Karen, you have anything to add?
Yeah, again, we want to thank Dan for staying with us to kind of break down some things. I'll have some questions for Dan about the crystals when we get to that point, because some people on our platforms see what he's talking about, but we want to ask him about how to use it and describe what the ends are, of male, female, and all that. So we'll hit that later in this segment.
So that's really awesome. So Dan, let's pick up, if you don't mind, when you left off, you were talking about there's some activity in the Bible about the extraterrestrials. Can you mention a little bit about that? And then we'll dive into the how-tos for the crystals.
Well, I'm not a Bible scholar by any means. I read all the red texts of what Jesus said.
Hey, that's good.
Hey, you've done better than most people that are in church.
There's a lot of truth in there. A lot of truth.
Absolutely.
But even today, the CIA uses a tactic that they put, like, they'll bring in an asset in order to counter disclosure. They'll bring 90% truth and then throw in the lie, with it, because then the truth, when your message is with love, the message carries, and then the humans on Earth that want to manipulate, they've done that, and people need to research. They need to understand the origins of things, and the Council of Nicaea, what happened back then, about what was edited, what was taken out, and just the nature of the church. And I've researched authenticated documents showing how they have wanting to deceive the American public and of the world, actually, to have containment of the extraterrestrial situation. And they've, in certain sectors in the religious community, they've, labeled and in fact, the CIA, there's documents show that they've infiltrated the clergy to put their ideas in there about, the demons and all this stuff. They're very much afraid. It kind of works because of the prime directive, because they're very they have a moral basis. They don't interfere with a lesser evolved civilization. It would impact their evolution, and so there is actually a prime directive so that interstellar civilizations don't interfere with a civilization that's still evolving. It was only because of regressive extraterrestrials did interfere and broke that they worked with the U.S. Navy behind the scenes and during the President Eisenhower's administration and things to try to create a balance. But if they were to if they were to come out, they would find out that all these obsolete, dangerous technologies we've been using for years haven't been needed, and so much. So as far as religious elements, they have infiltrated that and somewhat hijacked the story of that famous person. And the real message is about love, and about self-empowerment, and about becoming aware of that, Christ within us all. That as he said, greater things you too shall do. I'm surprised that part didn't get edited out, but
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Uh,
A lot
yeah,
of parts were edited out and changed. Even
yeah.
Yeshua's words were so changed. So yeah, absolutely.
And you have to research. You know, there's
Yeah,
two types of
absolutely.
minds. There's the
Mhm.
types of minds that will follow blindly. They're the
Yeah,
followers, and that's dangerous
yeah,
because if you don't research, like say for example, you could be following doctor's advice on the television
yep,
that could lead to a very unhealthy situation for
Hmm.
you.
yeah.
And so if you don't research, what you don't know can hurt you.
Oh,
So it's very important that you don't just blindly follow. Research. Don't
yeah,
take anybody's word
Word
for
for it.
it. Do your
Right.
own
yeah.
research.
But
And there's a
see,
lot of information that's out there
that can help.
that can help. Absolutely.
But you know, Dan, it's so interesting because in the Christian community, we were programmed for years, for generations, saying, don't read any other book. You don't need anything else. Just the Bible, just the
And the
Bible.
Nazis said that too, didn't they?
Correct.
Ah,
It is it has been such a programming that they have done, and they've done a great job, unfortunately,
Oh, yeah.
to
Yeah.
program
Anything
humanity.
that varies from what the message is up,
Yeah,
it's Satan trying to lure you away. Get back.
absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dan, let me ask you this question because I wrote it down as you were talking. You know, it's something really interesting is happening even in the Bible, with what we have translated, because so many people will remember that scripture. Karen, I don't even think I brought this to you, where it says that the lion lays down with the lamb.
mm-hmm.
You guys know about that scripture? And there were paintings about it, that the lion will lie down with the lamb. Now, do you know what? That's actually not in the Bible. What's in the Bible is that the wolf will lie down with the lamb.
Yep.
So, so what do you think, Dan? Do you think that this is an alternate timeline that's shifting or bleeding into our timeline? What is going on? Because, yeah,
That's like a Mandela effect thing. You
yeah,
thought you
Well,
saw it one
there's
way.
timeline. There's
that's what I
temporal
thought.
wars going
That's
on.
what I
There are
thought. Go
beings
ahead.
that are jumping back
Hmm.
and forward in times and doing things and but there's in fact that's what brought about this whole thing is that the Andromedas found 350 years in the future that there was a galactic wide tyranny where because of what the Nazi SS did with the Draco reptilians, and then they had superior technology during Eisenhower. MJ-12 went behind his back,
Right.
signed in an
Hmm.
agreement, and then so forth and so on, and it kept proliferating. And so in the galaxy, it narrowed it down to our little Earth, Mars and Moon and everything that was
Right.
going on here. And so this prompted the Galactic Federation of Worlds to come in and intervene because when the Draco, the reptilians, they gave the Nazi SS's advanced technology that defeated Admiral Byrd when he went down to attack the Nazi base in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Um, this violated the Prime Directive. This created an imbalance, and this is what allowed them to come in and they were kind of working with the CIA and the Air Force. You have to think about it. The first MJ-12 group was created. All of this was created on the same day in September 17th, 1947, I believe the date was. The CIA was created, the U.S. Air Force was created, and the
Wow.
MJ-12 group was created, all on the same day.
Wow.
And then, but the Navy wasn't involved in this. So the Navy, what happened was they got kicked out of Project RAN, which the Air Force felt they brought uh, General. Anyway, he brought in a huge amount of money, and basically, the Air Force dominated and
Yep.
forced the Navy to do its own program in secrecy. This is how the Navy was able to do its own program and create the Solar Warden program that when I went to Washington, it inspired a hacker in the UK, Gary McKinnon, who discovered the U.S. Navy Solar Warden program and the ships that they had, like the Hillenkotter and the LeMay and the non-terrestrial officers, which they wanted to put them away for 70 years in prison. So that's why we have the Navy doing one thing, and but since that time, there's been a lot of shifting going around where the Air Force and the other groups that are more coming into alignment with the Earth Alliance that is working with the Galactic Federation of Worlds to since their minions of the Dark Cabal have been left after their regressive extraterrestrials, the Nibu and the Draco, have been removed from our solar system back in 2021. We only have to deal with them, and they're creating havoc right now because they're playing their last cards because they've already lost, and so they have nothing to lose but to create havoc to try to act as a bargaining chip in order to get a better deal. Because they turned down the deal that was back in December of 2021. They were going to be put through a portal down in Antarctica to a prison planet. And they were able to, as long as they worked with us, but they reneged on the deal. And so now they're facing curtains, for them. Wow. So this is the situation we're in right now. I know some of the some of my family are evangelicals and very much church, and their crazy uncle, what he talks about, but I research, and there's factual evidence, things that Elena Danaan talks about. I did an analysis of 17 things that she said that proved to be correct. The 3 right off the top of my head, there's like no way that you can make this stuff up unless you had direct knowledge, like a quake on Mars, 3 planets, Proxima Centauri, Neptune heating up unexpectedly. All of this is scientifically verified after she discloses it by our space agencies, so
and you know what, Dan, let me just say this, let me add this. With a whole bunch of stuff and mud that's being thrown everywhere, one thing that I go back to, and what people have come to me telling me, Corina, what I see from Elena is love. Love emanates from this woman. I had her come on to our academy, our 3rd semester, as one of the guest speakers, and all the students were in shock. Now, these are Christians. They were all in shock after we were done, and I stayed on with them after Elena left. And they said, Corina, there were some that were in tears saying the love that emanates from this woman. I don't know about Inky, I don't know about Enlil, I don't know about this is what they said, but love emanates from this woman. And again, I love that you're saying this because you verified that. What I can say, again, for those of you guys watching, let love be the measuring stick by which you measure everything, because there's a whole bunch of information out there. If you don't see the fruit, and this is simple, I say you will recognize the tree by its fruit. Simple. If the fruit from that tree is love, then I would encourage you to take a look at it again. And then this is what you're saying, to research, and you've researched, and the first 3 things that came up, you found them to be true regarding what Elena said.
Yeah, all of it. It's like, but the 3 things I mentioned, there's like, she sends an email to Dr. Sal, for example, that they're doing terraforming on Mars, with Thorhan is, and Thorhan's saying, just as a huge quake in the process, there were, he's in Aries Prime, and then just like 2 days later, NASA reports the largest quake ever recorded in our solar system on Mars.
Wow.
Then Thorhan says, watch, Neptune. Everybody's going to be talking about Neptune's next. And like a week later, scientific articles all over the place. Neptune's temperature is going down, down, down. All of a sudden, it's because the galactic confederation has arrived, the Cedars, as she calls them, and it's activating these arcs, these space arcs, all over our solar system. And so they're heating up, just like in Antarctica, it's like 70 degrees warmer. The South Pole of Neptune started heating up.
Yeah.
And it's like, and all the scientific articles started talking about just, like right after Thorhan reveals that. And then, 2 years after Elena writes the book, A Gift from the Stars, where she details 110 different extraterrestrial species, the planets that they're on, what they draws detailed illustrations, what they look like, what their nature is like, what their planets are like. She details 3 planets in Proxima Centauri. NASA didn't know about it, but 2 years later, because of our new abilities, we're telescopic, to be able to see out into the universe, they confirmed there's 3 planets, just like she said. It's like, you can't make this stuff up, right?
Yeah, right. That's really, really interesting and powerful. So, Dan, you were talking about timeline wars, and this is what's happening, right? This is what you're noticing also, that there's a timeline, there's wars in the timelines, even with going back to the scripture. I found a scripture, Karen, I don't know if you saw it, Dan, I don't know if you heard of it. Somebody posted, and I was like, what? Where Jesus says, whoever doesn't hate their mother, hate their husband, their spouse, and their children cannot follow me. I'm like, that's not, he never said that.
And the blood sacrifices,
we started on that.
It's like, all that sounds pretty. What happened is that we had extraterrestrials that came that were tricksters that decided to take advantage of these naive humans on Earth. And hey, we're God. Hey, and worship us, and is like so forth and so on. And they took full advantage of that.
Yeah.
And so we've had some tricksters that came.
Yeah.
That weren't that evolved, that actually messed with our DNA a long time ago, shorten our lifespans. My God,
oh boy.
There's so much good stuff that's going to be revealed.
Yes, I agree.
Once right now the scene's playing out. We're at we've already won the timeline. The positive timeline's set, but it needs to play out, apparently, the last bits until we're finally liberated from these dark elements that have been. If anybody does any research and has noticed, there's been dark elements that have infiltrated government, pharmaceuticals, everything. Going back, when I researched, I found that the Nazis, before the end of World War II, they had a plan to infiltrate and create a matrix of perception called Weltanschauungskrieg, means worldview warfare. They wanted to control our perceptions, which they did. They rewrote the history in 1946 of what happened at the end of World War II, the Nazi escape infiltration, the Operation Mockingbird in 1950, Allen Dulles controlled the media, Project Dove in Hollywood. And so what happened is, Walt Disney comes on with Werner von Braun, former Nazi SS, and a 33rd degree Freemason, convincing us that, in the future, we're going to use rockets, when they knew full well back in 1934, they developed anti-gravity. We had it by 1954, 20 years later. This is how they were able to have a technological advance and force Eisenhower into a surrender. Of course, none of this is in our history books, right?
And then even less now, taking out even what was there out with what's been going on in the last couple of years, so.
Yeah, it's, it's like when you when you start to research this, it's like I just had one oh my God moment after another, because I knew I had to plug in from the beginning of the 20th century, year 1900 to present day, all these witness testimonies, all these authenticated classified documents. And when you do that, what happens is the pattern starts to emerge and the truth starts to, because they can only hide. They did everything possible in order to keep the secret.
Mhm.
But if you research, that's the worst thing they want you to do is the research, because you start to find out what the real truth that's been hidden from us, and it's blows away any science fiction movie script that you've
Yeah.
ever seen. It's but it's incredible. It brings great hope,
Yeah.
because there's this incredible, beautiful world that's awaiting us. But the only thing that's keeping that is our awareness, because we have great power, all of
Yes.
us collectively, to transform this world. But it's has to do with, this collective awareness, and, doing shows like you're doing
Yes.
helps to assist even us just thinking about these
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
because each of us are a fractal of source, of a collective mind on this planet, this planetary matrix, which we're all connected with. And
Yes.
there's scientific evidence that substantiates that the square root of 1%, which is
Correct.
less than 9,000 people, affect the entire 8 billion people that's on the planet, or at least start to affect it. Um, I have great hope that we're going to be moving in, and it's going to be more aligned with love and
Yes.
compassion,
Yeah.
and it's not going to be secrecy and deception
Yeah.
that's been used to dupe everybody.
Mhm. Yeah. Dan, before we go on, I think Karen, you want to ask him about the crystal. Before we do that, what can you share or encourage the viewers that are watching, for the ones that are just starting to wake up and realizing, oh my gosh, what the heck do I do now? Do you have any thoughts on like the first steps? What do they need to do if they're getting
Research,
into this? Okay.
because
Mhm.
they wanting to keep disclosure from happening. And so what's happening is they're activating a lot of what I call counter disclosure assets.
Yes.
Counter disclosure assets can be identified. All of a sudden, they're like coming on, they're all over the place, and they are usually attacking people like
Right.
Elena Danan and Alex Collier and my friend John Charles,
Yes.
and others. They attack them because they represent, and what they'll do is they'll come up with a narrative that sounds good, a lot of love and light and all that, but they mix in the lies with that, and they will say other people, they'll target other
Yes.
persons, say that they've been compromised,
Yes.
where they are the ones that are, they see, how do you sort out between these two? See, it causes confusion, so people
Yes.
don't know what to believe, because they see all these different stories on the alternative media, and they're saying, oh well, Inky's evil, and oh my god, and
Mhm.
oh, Elena's like, oh, she's a witch, or and she's doing these things or whatever. They're coming up with all kinds of different things, but they want to stifle the truth by muddying the waters with all kinds of different dialogues.
Yes.
But how do you sort out the two? You research, you find they can't claim what Elena has done,
Mhm.
because they don't have the scientific verifiable evidence that she does. They don't have that, because they're making up a dialogue. Some of these are produced with working with intelligence
Right.
agencies, where even my friend Dr. Michael Salla, he brought on somebody, and that most of it correlated. I kind of believed it too, but it was kind of like there was a lot of red flags, but
Right.
it matched what William Tompkins, who I studied extensively,
Mhm.
and it matched so many different things. And that's what they do. They get about 90% max, and then they throw in the lies, and
Yep.
then they'll come out and say something like, oh, and by the way, the earth is flat.
Right. Right.
And or I made the whole thing up. It was
Yeah.
all for a comic book or whatever. Um, so what they try to do is just they try to discredit the real people, so
Yeah.
that the normies, and I mean that respectfully, because
Oh,
we
yeah.
all were normies at
Yes.
one point until we got to a point where we're like, what's going on here? And we started researching and finding out what the truth was. Um, and so that's how you determine. And my site, the webmatrix.net, is just notes, but they have links for references, and
That's good.
follow it up, do your own due diligence, make up your own mind. Don't trust what anybody says.
Very good.
Be completely discerning of the information, and the truth will reveal itself. It's like a lot of people picking up the love energy Elena's radiating, because there's truth behind that. And people can come and seem to be, love and light and have a positive message, but then they can weave in the lie into that message and to distract from the true message. And so, just like all the UFO groups and MUFON, I'm doing an interview with MUFON later tonight. They've been infiltrated by the intelligence agencies.
Yeah.
They want to make sure they keep a lid on the information in a particular way.
Yeah, I love what you said, because discernment is such an important, we so need to walk in discernment during this day and age. But again, and I also love what you said, that some people, because that's how the dark forces work. They have 90% truth, and then they throw, like, I give you a glass of clean water, you're thirsty, but then I put a few drops of cyanide. It may look like a clear glass of water, but yet it can kill. So I totally understand that. I have been quite attacked because I did interviews with Elena publicly, so I get that. Oh boy, I get that. Now, Karen, I know you have some questions.
Because I sure do, on the crystals. So we'll come out of the Soylent Green movie. And now we'll talk about something. It's so crazy. So, Dan, for people who are just getting into the crystal scene, can you explain, like, which one's female, which
that's
one's...
a beauty.
Oh, thank you. And then I have one with that Drew sent me, Towsley, so that's his. But can you explain to people, like, the male end, the female end, how it works, and how you use it?
Very good.
Sure. I'll use this little one here.
Okay.
It's a six-sided. They're a company we're working with. If you go to marcelvogel.org, there's a link to the company that's been cutting it according to not only Marcel's specification, but the enhanced attributes that Jen Hanna has specified as well. The crystal. There's a whole procedure, and I'm going to be doing this with Elena on what Marcel showed. The crystal, in a way, it's like a laser. These are similar technologies that a laser, how does that work? You have two mirrors, and you have a ruby crystal in the middle. You photon excite the crystal, and it reflects back and forth these two mirrors. And each subsequent reflection, it builds up more powerful, and then becomes so powerful that one of these mirrors is 99% reflective and the other one's 100% reflective. So that 1% that comes out is strong enough to cut through steel. So it's that powerful, that lasing effect. So the crystal, it has a transponder end that acts as the 52-degree angle that resonates into the matrix, that brings the energy in. It's like the receiving end. And then the energy, it spirals down the crystal, and the emitter end, the 60-degree end, projects the energy. And so you have this somewhat female, male, receptive, transmittive end. And so again, this is a tool for consciousness. Jenhan always specifies that, remember, consciousness. It's about consciousness. It's, people want to, like, oh, the power of the crystal, oh, the power of the consciousness
Oh,
of
God.
you working with the crystal is what does it. And you love and caring for another being. I can give a story that I used. Marcel cut this as a gift for me for bringing all these crystals and helping procure some laboratory equipment. And he was a dear friend. He gave me the crystal, and I got on the plane going back to San Diego. And just sharing a quick story. There was a football player sitting seat next to me, holding his knee in pain. Marcel showed me the technique that he used, using the breath and with the crystal. And I told him I'm not a doctor. I'm kind of an experimental scientist. I like to try some unusual procedures. And when you're in pain, why not? It's not going to hurt you. He got off the plane and he pointed to me from his parents. He said, "That guy cured my leg, but I didn't cure it. I facilitated him curing himself."
Awesome.
And so what the procedure is that, kind of roughly, I don't want to go into a whole thing, it would be too time consuming, but I'll just do it briefly. In that, got avalanches on the dome. We're covered in snow.
Oh, wow.
The first thing you want to do is you want to connect with the crystal and become one with it. Well, actually, before you even do that, you want to clear the crystal, because whatever's in the crystal has an imprint in it. And there's a couple of ways to do that. One, holding a crystal like this and with your breath and intention of clearing. He used the pulse breath, which, interestingly enough, that's what the Palladians do as well. That there's this much more powerful effect, and Marcel Vogel was able to measure this with the plant. When he was pulsed his breath, it got a much greater reaction to it. And so you pulse your breath like you're blowing your nose, like that, and with the intention, with the breath, of clearing it.
Wow.
Another thing you can use is a magnetic bulk eraser, which we were able to measure in a laboratory that did clear the crystal, but not everybody has one of those.
Yes.
Another thing you can use that we just learned about recently is using a 4096 tuning fork. They're only about $10 on Amazon. And you can hear that.
Yeah.
But you take it and you brush it. Don't touch the crystal. Just brush it with your consciousness at the same time doing this on 3 of the facets. So you're getting all 3 axes of the crystal if you have a 6-sided.
Got you.
And there's another more advanced way, but we won't get into that. What you do then is, once the crystal is clear, you don't have any previous programs that would color what you were doing, you connect with the crystal and become one with it. And Marcel used to rotate it and kind of rub and squeeze, which is squeezing effect is kind of interesting because it's activates the piezoelectric lattice structure within the crystal. And when it's charged, it'll have feel like a kind of like a sticky surface on the surface of the crystal. And so if you're working with somebody, what he would do is go into the thymus area, and he would rotate the crystal, and he would call this the critical rotational angle. And something I need to go over with Jenhan to see if he concurs with it, because like a tuning dial on a radio, each person has a unique frequency or DNA. And if you're using your left hand as kind of like a receptive, if you do this for a bit, it becomes kind of second nature.
Yes.
You rotate, and then you'll feel at one point like tuning a dial on a radio, and when you get on the right frequency, all of a sudden it'll just, you can feel it, and then you start to increase the energy, and then you have the person go in with their mind's eye, go into, if they're having pain or something in their body, that's wonderful, because it gives them a way to guide their mind into and go right into, to be asked to show the core source of the problem.
Okay.
And allow that core source to be revealed into your mind's eye. And it can come in, colors, geometric, or whatever. It can be an emotion, whatever it comes, without judgment. Just ask, and usually it's your first impression usually that comes into that. And usually if you have pain or something, it's pretty easy to lock on to where that source is. And so, and through a procedure of breathing with the person, breathe in and out. And what you're doing, and you're amplifying the energy when you're working with the person. And so as you're breathing in and out, with each breath, you're charging up, because the breath is important, because the breath brings in the prana, the frill, into the body. And you can't, if you have a depleted body, it doesn't work as well. Your body needs to be charged in order to do this extraction, through the consciousness and the breath.
Yes.
And so at the release breath, the person takes a deep breath in, and you sinking with them.
Yes.
They lock their mind on it. All this happens at the same time. They lock their mind on where the core problem is, and then you're locked into it with the crystal, and then all of a sudden release like that. And it's like a pulse breath, and immediately you bring back the energy. When you pull something out, you need to replace it with something, right? And you replace it with love. Love is the integrative force. Marcel used to say, love is the glue of the universe. When I love you, I empower you to be empowered, to be whole. And so amazing things happen, with doing that. And sometimes it takes more than one. Sometimes it moves, and it moves to another area, and then you may have to do it a few times. But anyway, that's a very general, without going into a whole lot of specifics, of the procedure, which is basically the person is attuning to where the core problem is, and with the power of love, and the power of the crystal to bridge the dimensions. Keep in mind, we're a multi-dimensional being. We have many different densities, and the crystal is resonant simultaneously on all these densities at once. And so this is how it bridges the densities. And so when matter is formed from the higher to the lower, not from the lower to the higher. And so when you take out the blueprint pattern or the discordant pattern at a higher level, it's like pulls the rug out from it in the 3D world. So that's how that tumor dematerialized in front of the doctor and I when I first met Marcel.
That's so powerful. My goodness. Karen? Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to go over this procedure that Marcel taught me.
Yeah.
And I used it, 100 times or whatever. I don't know how, I didn't keep track. A lot of, I don't label myself as a healer or ever associate money with this ever. But I do it because I'm kind of a scientist in a way. I like to prove the theory to myself, and I like to help people if I can.
Yes.
And so it's kind of like I experiment on them, and if they get healed, it can't hurt them, right? It's just like like homeopathic medicine, that Rockefeller wanted to obliviate, with the pharmaceuticals. My
Yeah.
great grandfather was the president of Homeopathic Medical Society up during the time he was trying to eradicate all the natural medicine and, just
Mm-mm-mm.
profitable pharmaceuticals.
Hey, Dan, on the crystal, how about somebody that has like a negative vibe or like, operating in some, you know, like, I don't know, unforgiveness or some kind of offense or anything like that? How does the crystal react to that?
Oh, you mean the operator or the
Yeah, yeah. Or either even the person that they're working with. Does
dissonance
it?
cannot attune to an ordered state of geometrical
Okay.
perfection.
Cannot work.
um, Crystals sometimes have broken, shattered.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. Mhm.
No, actually, they have. Yeah, that's the wonderful thing of the design of the universe is that love is the only power,
Okay.
and anything else is an illusion.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, Dan, it's a tool.
Yes.
Right, right. It's
A
not like
tool. Yeah.
we're worshiping the crystal,
Yeah.
the
Love that
crystal
you're saying
god
that.
gives us this power, it's like no, 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 no.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
about our consciousness. We're
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
fractal of source.
Yes. I love that you're saying that. So you guys listen again. It's a tool.
Yes.
It's a tool that we have been given, just like many other tools, Lisa was saying here, like playing the guitar. It's a tool, it's an instrument, it's a tool that we have access to use if we so choose. That's incredible, Dan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's science.
Yeah.
It's a science, and I was honored to work with a a brave, pioneering, highly esteemed uh, scientist that made his mark in the world.
Mhm.
That he is very brave to go on to where he would be shunned for, how dare he get into crystals and love and healing, it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but he was ahead of his time.
Mhm.
This is a science of consciousness. The evolved beings are they interface their consciousness with the ship. The ship is alive.
Yeah.
It has its own consciousness, and they're working with the laws of nature, and they have an advanced understanding of science. We're still kind of still doing witch hunts and
Yeah.
burning people at the stake, for
So true.
Yeah, I know in our realm, like, I've put up the questions like in the Christian realm, if there's a church session and gyms show up, it's a move of God. But if a believer brings out a crystal, what are you doing over there? Worshiping crystals? And I've put up that question. I go, so what's the difference? Like, you're okay with them showing up at the conference. And I mean, it's so bizarre, like the whole mindset about stuff like that. And the same with the oil, they're in church, you got the anointing oil. Oh God, it's the Holy Spirit moving. And then somebody brings in like, and to me, like those oils are tainted because they're using synthetic, things to make them. Then here comes the other believer that's bringing in essential oil. Oh my God, they're new age, I mean, so I'm taking on my platform. Look what you guys are doing here, and somebody said, well, I'm glad somebody's bringing that up because I started seeing that myself with the hypocrisy and all that going on in it, and I'm like, okay, y'all need to wake up. We need to start talking about these things, and just breaking the taboos off.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's so much fear associated with it. And it's so much fear. And fear always speaks of a future with an impending doom. So
Yeah.
it's always, if you use this, then you're opening demonic doors. If you use this.
Yeah.
But you guys, this has nothing to do with that.
Right.
These are tools that divine creator, Father, Holy Spirit, Mother, heavenly family, cosmic family has given to us to be able to engage and start walking our path of becoming who we're supposed to become. Dan, thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you for being such a bold voice of truth. I mean, I know just from reading your background and watching you, you have dedicated the most part of your life, if not your whole life, to just speaking truth and bringing truth in whatever packaging it was brought in. Your desire is to bring truth to help humanity. And I just want to thank you for what you're doing. It's incredible. You have a beautiful blueprint, and all the facets that you carry in releasing that to humanity is incredible. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm humbled by your words. I'm just another Terran on planet Earth that once you become aware of the true reality through researching, to just be quiet and not say anything, I can't do it. I have to get on a show once in a while and feel like although it's a small little drop of into one of the experiments Marcel did was he took a vat of unstructured water and took this sacred spring water. It just took like a single drop of it and put it into the unstructured water, and the whole water, every drop in that water had that structure. It means that's because you couldn't do it the other way around. You couldn't have put a drop of unstructured and it wouldn't affect the structured water, meaning that the love and the truth will propagate. And so each of us, you guys are doing a great job because you're getting it out there in your own way on social media here. And what every voice can do in every way, or in even your thoughts that you think help contribute to the beautiful new world that all of us are creating.
Absolutely. Karen, do you have any other questions?
Well, I don't, but Dan, stay on when we close out. We'd just like to have a little brief talk with you, and we love having you on. We love your work too.
So. I love your questions. I love when people ask questions. More questions.
We have more, I'm sure.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan, so much for taking out of your busy schedule and coming on and sharing truth with us and with our viewers. Thank you so much.
I look forward to the next time.
Absolutely. You guys, thank you again for watching, and we hope you were blessed, stretched but blessed. Until next time, see you guys later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.